Hey, George.
Hey, Dan.
Good to be here today.
Getting a scam likely.
Getting to discuss some things.
Yeah, we are.
Talking about organizations and teams.
Organizations, teams.
Why people learn.
How do they work best? So last week on the podcast, is that tea or coffee?
It's spice cake black tea.
Mine's Earl Grey de Creme.
Oh,
De Creme?
nice.
Or something like that. Anyways, okay, so last week on the podcast,
Earl Grey.
we talked about postures. I gotta admit, one of my favorite episodes we've had so far.
We had a good discussion in that episode.
Got pretty excited, pretty fired up. This week, well, that's part of a three, I think we're calling pillars.
Mm-hmm.
Three like structural elements, three buckets that we think that.
Three vertices, maybe?
Vertices. Ooh, yeah, because it could be a prism.
Mm-hmm.
The three corners of what we think are where things live when you start talking about a really high performing, a learning team really taking flight.
Mm-hmm.
Those are structures, disciplines, and postures. Last week we talked about postures, your mindset, your attitude coming into it, your the way you perceive things, and how that can pull strings on the disciplines that you have and the structures you have. And it was good. Go back and listen to that if you didn't, and make sure you subscribe for more.
Absolutely. And then
See you
leave a
guys
rating.
next week.
Oh, wait, that's not, that's
I'm going to do that at the end.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's right.
This week we're going to jump into disciplines.
What is one of your favorite disciplines? And secondly, what is one of your non-favorite disciplines but leads to the greater good of your whole being?
This is just me personally or me on a team? Or, oh man.
It's your canvas. The world is your oyster, so to speak. Or as Michael Scott would say, a white sheet of paper that's blank.
Ooh.
I just spilled my tea.
Did you spill?
I did. It'll be fine.
I don't have any paper towels.
That's
sorry.
okay.
What's one of my favorite disciplines? I've been, yeah, you really did spill. I've been trying to consistently make my bed every day. I would say it's almost one that I don't like.
Yeah.
Except for at the end of the day, I love it because I get into like a really nice made bed.
Yeah.
I read an article years ago. It's been a while. I think it's kind of an old thing where it was like a military person. I don't remember who it was.
Some guy
was giving a graduation speech, and that was like his theme was make your bed every day.
Kind of like that one guy that said wear sunscreen. You remember that back in high school? That like montage came out. It's kind of to a beat. It's like if I had, advice for the generation in the future, wear sunscreen.
Well, that was a song.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was based
like
off a
spoken
speech.
word.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not the same.
So it's kind of like
it's kind of like that.
Like if I have one piece of advice for you, make your bed.
Yeah. So I think what I love about it is it's the thing that I want to, after I get up in the morning, either I work out or I go take a shower. And then right after the shower, I want to just get dressed and walk out of my room. And I always have to walk past the bed and I have to make that decision. It's like the first real decision I need to make that day. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess working out is probably the first real decision, but it's the first thing that says, I'm going to commit to do this thing that I don't have to. Mm-hmm. Like it'd be fine if I got into bed with it just covers laying around, but that it sets that trajectory for like consciously making a decision to do the thing that I know I will help me to make better decisions the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I love that discipline. It's just one I've been trying to do more.
Have you noticed a difference?
I mean, when I get into bed at night, the bed's made.
Maybe a little less wrinkly?
A little less wrinkly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I've seen a huge difference. Just
maybe the sense of organization.
Yeah. A little
kind
bit.
of like,
yeah.
All right, I can move forward from this.
Now I should make the second discipline is pick up my dirty clothes off the floor.
Oh, I can live out of a laundry basket with the best of them. And it's not
I know
good.
your shirt says it. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
You don't like wrinkly clothes, and that's like the worst thing I could call you.
Actually, I know that's not true because I ironed this yesterday, so it's fine.
What else?
Which ironing in of itself is a discipline.
Yeah, I hate ironing. You love it.
I do.
Yeah,
I don't.
I know this about you. It's therapeutic for you.
So much satisfaction in removing wrinkles.
Are you a starch guy with ironing?
If it's a really bad, like, shirt comes out of the dryer and it's like, wow, you just look like a ball of paper.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll starch it.
I would rather just throw it back in the dryer with a wet
washcloth.
Yeah.
We also have a steamer.
Oh, wow.
Like
is your
small
dryer
personal steamer.
like a stand-up steamer?
Yeah, and that works wonders on like sweaters.
That's great.
Yeah.
I actually did an activity, and you know this, I've said this a million times to you and people around Crema, but I did an activity a few years back where I had just read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, and it really like shaped everything I was seeing and thinking about. The fact that everything you do is shaped by routines or habits. Almost everything you do, you don't realize that you're habitually moving the way you do, doing the routines that you do, talking to people that you do, having the gestures that you do, et cetera, facial expressions. And so I started like documenting my day on what my day looked like. So everything from I get up, but it's conditional. I get up at a certain time if my kids have to be at school at a certain time, or if Jessie's still at home because she leaves early in the morning, et cetera. And then I go through a shower and then I dry off my left arm, then my right arm. And like down to the weird nitty gritty, all the way through going to sleep. And I think the funny thing is like, there isn't a one discipline. It's just like, I realized, my entire life is one giant habit or one giant cluster of habits,
but many different outcomes.
Yeah, for sure. So, creating a new habit is not actually adding a new routine. It's replacing an existing one. So, I like when I do work out. So I try to work out 2 or 3 times a week, although the last few weeks that hasn't been so great. After I do a workout, I like to take 10 minutes and try to just clear my head. A little meditation is a really satisfying thing. When I actually commit to doing it, I love doing it. I do see a difference in that day, just how clear-headed I am, or how scattered or foggy I am. It changes my posture for the day.
Right.
What about you?
I wonder.
As I wonder.
If I like discipline as an adjective to describe my commitment to my habits and routines.
Unpack that. I'm not following.
So it's like the way we're using it, disciplines is an object. It's a noun. It's a thing. These are the disciplines you do.
Yep.
And maybe what leads to greater change is establishing habits and routines, but you got to be disciplined to actually execute on them.
Disciplined to execute on the ones that matter. Because you have habits and routines. It's just a question of, are you leaning into the ones that matter? So, okay, that's a better, I'm going to flip the question. The question for you is not what's your favorite or least favorite discipline. It's the question of what's one that you're leaning into because you think it matters.
Trying to think of the current routines in my life right now.
You're one of the most intentional human beings I've ever met in my entire life. So I know you're ruled by your disciplines. Or you must be, because I'm a mess.
I'm just trying to think of normal. I'll be honest. I feel like in the last 6 months, I'm very laissez-faire in my disciplines. I know.
Who are you?
I know. I asked that of myself in the mirror.
What have I become?
Well, maybe this is a habit or a new habit. I'm trying to be better at what does the moment require currently. And sometimes the moment, at least in my life currently, it's requiring me to break disciplines that I want to be more present for those around me.
That's good.
So like our family, large family, lots of activity, lots of busyness. There are things
lots of movement.
Yeah. There's, a routine of mine used to be, gym regularly 5:30 in the morning.
Gosh, it's too early.
However, what I'm finding is that there are, especially now that I have a kid in middle school, they start earlier.
Yeah, they do.
And so being able to be available to even just be with him in the morning.
Yep.
Present and also even drop him off. It's 7:15 when I drop him off.
That's right.
Because he likes to get there early because he talks with his friends, which is fine. But that means if I don't get up early,
You mean they don't have to be there at 7:15? Do I drop her off just because she wants to hang out with her friends at 7:15?
I think so. Maybe I just outed Aveley. Sorry, Aveley.
Oh man. I could be sleeping longer. I'm done. Keep going.
So maybe that's and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And maybe that in of itself is a habit. Maybe it's opening up doors to new habits that I don't even know they're coming.
So I think what's really cool about the conversation around disciplines, oh my gosh, if you're on Medium, like the blogging platform Medium.
Oh gosh.
It's every other article is the 5 most positive habits for most successful people.
Here are the routines that are
my morning routine looks like this.
Destroying your day.
You'll be a millionaire if you do. Mm-hmm. Right. That's not what we're trying to say.
No.
But there is some truth to it in the sense that I think there are disciplines, there are things to lean into, whether it is saying one of the disciplines I'm going to take right now is actually stepping away from things, saying no to things, mm-hmm. or one of the disciplines I'm going to try to do is be more present. Mm-hmm. That is just its intentionality to mm-hmm. say, I'm going to make a rhythm of doing this.
Yeah.
My routine with my daughter that gets up early is that I roll out of bed and then I yell over the little,
sir, I know where this is going.
The railing, and I'm like, hey, Aveley, are you awake? And she goes, yeah, I'm making myself breakfast. And she's been awake for like an hour. Sweet, I'm going to grab a shower. You go. Do I drive you today or is the neighbor driving you? It's you, Dad. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. Sweet. I'll be down in a second.
Yeah.
So you're better father than I am.
Well, and I think that's there's so overlap, but maybe there is a distinction sometimes between, when I think of routine, I think of rhythm, like frequency.
Yeah.
Which obviously you need
that
to
is
have.
A factor in a discipline.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But in kind of the new habit I am looking at, it's more like when the spontaneous moment happens, be ready to lean in.
Yeah.
But that's there's no frequency there. It's just moment by moment.
Well, so I'm going to push back on you a little bit. I think you're right. It may not be a standard frequency.
Yeah.
But
it's not like Monday at 4 p.m.
Right. But if you're not doing it frequently enough that the habit is being formed, then that's a problem. If you're just saying, well, yeah, I did it once, that's not really a discipline. That's mm-hmm. not a habit. You have to be doing it regularly in mm-hmm. some way. Now, that regular rhythm doesn't have to be equal distance. It can be sporadic, but it has to be frequent.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're getting at, and I want to pivot this into how that applies to a team. Mm-hmm. But this is not a new idea. I think people have talked a lot about. I would highly recommend The Power of Habit. There's a new one, Michael, and you read it, or
I haven't read it. It's really good, based off the reviews. Atomic Habits.
Yeah, Atomic Habits.
And I think what we're trying to get at is goal setting is great, but maybe rethinking it a little bit to what are habits that are good habits want to start doing.
That's right.
And then maybe it's those habits that are going to get you to that goal. So say, for example, maybe January 1, you said, I want to read 30 books this year, which mm-hmm. would be wonderful. Great. Yeah. Awesome. What if you reframed it to, I'm going to build a habit to where I read 20 minutes a day.
Right.
That might get you to 30 books. It might get you to 35 books. Mm-hmm. So rather
or
than
two, if it's a big book.
Or two, which is fine if you're kind of diving into and going deep into a book. Yep. So if you read 20 minutes a day, that is building a habit. It's frequency.
Yeah.
It's a routine. You're committing, you're disciplined to say, before I go to bed at 10 o'clock, I'm from 10 to 10:20 or 10:30, whatever, I'm going to read.
Yep. And
that might get you to your goal. It may not, but it's a discipline that you're building up to. And so think of it more as in habits or routine. If you, instead of, I'm going to bench press 300 pounds by the end of this year.
Right.
A lot of times you're setting yourself up for failure because it's like, okay, what do I do now? It's like, what routine, what
it's
exercises?
It's hard to make a decision based off that.
Exactly. But you might say, I found a bench press workout and I'm going to commit to that every time I go work out.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll get gains and I'll move that way.
And based on the workout, I'm supposed to add 2.5 pounds to the bar every 2 weeks.
I've never done that.
I'm going to do that. So it's more about habit, I think.
I think that's what we're getting at is in a discipline can be anything. Mm-hmm. It could be the way what time you get to work. It could be the first thing you open when you get to work. These are all individual disciplines. It could be the way that your team does a stand-up So a lot of agile teams will do a daily stand-up. It could be the way that you do a retrospective, which we'll talk more about later, which is just this frequency of looking back, right? It could be a release cycle. So there is continuous releasing on a product team or a technology team, or you might have something where you say, we try to release every sprint. So it's every 2 weeks. So these rhythms, I think probably what we're talking about is both rhythms, routines, disciplines, things that you're doing. What is the stuff that you're doing actively that is shaping who you are as a person or as a team?
It leads to something. It might lead to a change in behavior. It might lead to just a better understanding of who you are.
Yeah.
It could be, it leads to better relationships. And so for us at Crema, one of our core values is generosity. And at the, not pinnacle, but at the crux of that is, how can you be generous with your time to be as productive as you can, because it's an act of service and love towards others. And so disciplines or habits that we build, and whether it's I check my email at 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Every Monday or every Friday, I look at my week ahead and I get myself organized.
I should do that.
That is a discipline for what?
Yeah.
Being more productive with the week ahead so that, and it's not just those that you work with. What I found is the more I can be organized with my calendar at work is an act of love for my family.
Totally.
Because I may need to leave at 2 for, a school program.
Right.
But yet I can take a call at 4.
Right.
And if I can organize that, I'm serving both realms of life. Yeah.
All of those intentional disciplines.
Yep.
So I think there's lots of, I want to go back up to, I think there's lots of ways to establish healthy habits, healthy disciplines. I think one of the things is actually, I think just the activity of naming them. So sometimes it might be stuff that you're already doing. And it's just saying, let's just take inventory. Going back to our kind of pay attention and collect on the kind of learning loops, let's take inventory of what are the things that we're already doing? What are the things that are going well? What are the things that are working, so that we can kind of take inventory of those things, be more intentional about continuing to do them, maybe even share them with somebody else. So you can say, you know what, something I've been doing is...
I like that. Accountability.
Yeah. Or for example, a discipline that I've added to my one-on-ones was adding that sentiment check or the feelings check. That's a discipline, not only of having the one-on-one every 2 weeks, but also having this new thing I've added to it to say, I actually find this to be a really useful, consistent thing to do, an activity that gets really good results for how our team's working together.
Yep.
And sometimes a discipline takes like realizing you've fallen off of it pretty hard, or you're not doing it. But if you've named it, then you and the people around you can come back and be like, why aren't we doing that thing anymore? Or what happened to you coming in at a certain time every day, so I knew we were going to be collaborating? Or where's those consistent rhythms that make us work better together?
And some can be seasonal.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and maybe you're like, oh man, I did do that for a time. I did that for a summer, but now I'm not doing it. Oh, I'm a failure. Well, maybe not really. No. Maybe that's what the season required at that time. So for example, for me, trying to work out more in the evening because my son is like getting interested, but he's not going to go at 5 a.m. There's absolutely no way. I'm not going to go at 5 a.m. I'm having a hard time going at 5 a.m. So for me, it's like it's a changing of the discipline to where I still want to work out. Yeah. But it's a new discipline for me to go home and be like, oh, go to the gym. I'm tired. I'm worn out. My mind's mush. That's going to be a new habit for sure.
What are some disciplines that you feel like you either want to do or you are doing right now as a leader here at Crema? What's something that you feel like, I really like that we do this either as a team, maybe the leadership team, or maybe the company as a whole, or one that you're trying to lean into doing more of right now?
One of my favorites is when our leadership team gets together every other week to meet. There's just something about that regular routine of getting in the same room. We have an agenda. We look for what are topics we want to bring up. What are key things we want to talk about. But inevitably, someone will bring something to the table that we weren't anticipating, and we're able to talk about it. Even though that moment is spontaneous, the discipline that was there that surrounded it made room for it.
It gave you space.
Yeah, it gave space. And so I think the discipline of meeting well, I think sometimes there's two meetings. There's
only
many.
two.
Sometimes
I wish there was. Only two.
There was too many. There's too many meetings, and so I think setting a good rhythm of meetings that are done well, you give space to come together, and inevitably there's something that pops up in that meeting that's like, oh wow, this is good. We need to lean into this.
Yeah.
We should talk about this.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So I love that. I love that we do consistent one-on-ones.
Mm-hmm.
I love getting in the same room with those that you are leading and being able to ask them tough questions.
Yeah.
My favorite questions are, how am I failing you right now?
Yeah.
Do you not have what you need?
Yeah, I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
But it brings up something to where if you didn't have that space, you may not know how you can improve or maybe how you're coming across.
That's right.
You might find out it's like, well, when you said that the other day, I totally get what you thought, what you were thinking, but it just, I don't know, it's offensive. Or maybe
you and I used to have those meetings.
Yeah. It's like,
and it was literally at first
I totally
like,
agree what you said, but you said it like a jerk.
Yeah. I think I joke that you and I used to ask each other every Friday. We'd sit down at Mildred's in that corner, that little corner spot with
and have granola and milk.
Yeah, that's right. Do they still have the granola and milk?
I don't know, but if they do, I'm going to ask next time.
Yeah, it's been a while. But then early on, because we were learning how to work together, and our postures were coming together, and we didn't have any structure. We'll get to that. We didn't have any structure at the time. And so discipline is really all we had, was to say, we need to get together on a regular basis and ask each other, how did I piss you off this week? And how did you, just because we were unintentionally doing it, we were learning how to work together.
Right.
And so I think creating that rhythm gave us a space to do that. And now we don't have to have that same type of conversation as much.
Right. It happens in other forms.
Yeah, in other forms.
But it created an attitude of, wow, that's interesting. That discipline created the posture of always continuing, hey, we haven't connected. Let's go have lunch, or let's just, have a quick 30-minute meeting or whatever. I like our routine business planning timeline as well. Getting us in the same room to ask the big questions. Where are we going next year?
Yep.
Where are we going in the next 3 years? If we didn't have that discipline, we wouldn't do it. Or everyone would do it, but in a silo. It's like, I wonder where we're going.
So I love what you said at the end there, because you're viewing it as a leader, but also I think it plays into the gift that it gives to the team, that it removes walls. Right? By having a discipline, it forces you to say, I could have been laying some stones that are starting to stack up a wall, but because we have this normal, regular rhythm of either meeting or checking in on something or retrospecting on something, it kind of forces you to push that wall down and get into the same space, which I've said it last time, I'm all about destroying silos, all about destroying walls that make it so we can work better together. And I think disciplines are one of the primary ways to do that.
Without question. Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Okay.
That's good. All right. We got something there. That's good. What are disciplines or maybe rhythms that you're seeing that our teams do well?
One of my favorites is our Wednesday morning meeting.
Yeah.
Wednesday. So for those of you who are listening, who are new, we do something here at Crema every Wednesday where it's an all team, all hands on deck, stand up.
That is on a Wednesday.
It's on a Wednesday, but we call it Wednesday because that's where we talk about wins.
Yeah.
Wins at the client level, wins from an organizational level, maybe from a craft team perspective.
Or even
birthdays.
Personal. Yeah. Somebody got pregnant.
Someone someone
have a kid.
Had a baby. Yeah, absolutely. And so it's usually 15 minutes, if that, 10, 15 minutes.
Used to be longer. We've reformatted it to be shorter.
Right. And we just get together, and because I think what you can lose easily is just that, and it is a discipline of celebrating.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like, oh man, you have to be that rigid about to celebrate. Well, sometimes, you do.
You have to force it sometimes.
And I think what you'll think is it gives you more freedom, and it also, I don't know, there's just something to that aspect of practicing joy.
Yeah.
And celebrating that you have to be intentional about.
I think that companies do a really good job of always trying to solve problems, fix problems, which means it puts a lot of focus on all the negative. Like there's so many things that are broken, we got to fix it.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
That it makes a more efficient company, a more profitable company, usually a more valuable company. But on the flip side of that, I think that celebrating wins is that kind of other side of the coin to say, awesome, we actually did fix the problem, or yay, we've made progress towards fixing that problem, or let's just look at this opportunity that we realized. I think that's super exciting.
So how do we connect disciplines? So last week we talked about postures, and posture, bringing an attitude, a mindset of humility, curiosity. I'm going to use the word a fervor for learning. Like I have a posture of I'm bringing myself to the table in a way to where I'm approachable. People see me as reasonable. I'm willing to chip in. I'm willing to give my input, ask questions. That's all posture that leads to learning. So maybe the question we need to answer here, how do disciplines do that? What do disciplines do? So maybe we could use, what kind of analogy could we do here?
Well, your sports analogy was good.
Or mental. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so let's use working out. Ooh, this is a good one.
This is where I get depressed.
No. Okay. I remember you said something to me one time. You'd been...
Was it insightful?
Yes. You've been riding a bike for a while.
Okay.
And so this is not... Okay, so this is learning, but it's not your brain learning. It is your brain learning, but it's also your muscles learning.
Yeah.
Muscle memory, so to speak. So by practicing the discipline of riding 3 times a week, 4 times a week, or going to the gym... And this is going to sound so simple, and it is, but the fact that your muscles grow, or you mentioned to me that you did a separate workout, like a HIIT workout, and you were doing lunge jumps, jumping lunges or whatever.
Yes.
And you said that
secondary benefits.
Yeah. My muscles didn't get as fatigued as they normally do. Like, meaning I didn't throw up.
That's my threshold for a workout. And did I throw up?
If you go down that path, what happened was your every system in your body, your cardiovascular system, the idea that your muscles didn't produce as much lactic acid as quickly as they normally would. Your muscles got stronger. They had more endurance. That is learning. That discipline, that habit caused your body to change because of that learning. And so that can easily be applied to where if you routinely practice the discipline of, I'm going to read 20 minutes. So say I'm going to read a business book, or I'm going to read a book about UX design. I'm going to read a book about quality assurance or test engineering for 20 minutes a day. It's highly likely that you're going to learn and you're going to be better. You're going to change. You're going to become not just more intelligent. You're going to have a wider perspective. You're going to understand product management better.
You're going to be paying attention to things better.
Right. And so the discipline, again, and it goes back to, let's just be, okay, you go to piano practice for a recital. You will be better because you learned on the discipline of every Tuesday and Thursday. I go and I learn from a piano teacher from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. That discipline of learning has made me better, and better in that scenario means you learned.
So yes, and it sucks.
It's not easy.
So I think that one thing we should just call out and kind of name it is that what we're suggesting is you may already have disciplines that are working really, really well. Keep doing those. But oftentimes you have disciplines that are not serving you well, or the team, or your organization, or your clients. And changing those disciplines means not only changing yourself, but oftentimes convincing or encouraging someone else to change with you. And all of that together is a really uncomfortable shift. So use the analogy of working out. When I haven't been working out for a while, or when I haven't done legs in a while, let's put it that way. And you know me, you can always tell when I've done legs because I usually don't do them, but about every 3 months. And what ends up happening is I can't walk for the 3 days after a good leg workout. Well, it literally causes pain to have tried to introduce a new discipline, to introduce a new thing. And I was listening to a podcast recently. It was talking about someone who was trying to introduce a new way to work in their organization. He's a leader, and he was trying to introduce a new way to work. And their results actually started to go down. So it caused a new set of disciplines, a new set of new way of working. He said everyone was like frantic. And so they weren't producing as well. They weren't as focused, et cetera, et cetera. And the results started to drop. One of his peer leaders basically said, hey, what's the deal? We need our numbers to go back up.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you need to be patient. We're learning something new.
Mm-hmm.
And then what ended up happening was the curve ticked back up.
Mm-hmm.
People got used to the new discipline. The soreness of the workout or that particular leg workout wasn't as bad the next time around. The reps got better, incrementally got stronger. And then the team started performing better. And then the results and the backside of it were 10, 15, 20% higher.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of leaders specifically, and I think individuals as well, don't realize or don't have the patience or the grit, because I think a new discipline takes grit to stick with it through the pain to get to the discipline rhythm or to get to the habit actually being formed. And I think that's the hardest thing. One of the hardest things is not actually keeping a habit, because once you have it formed, your body's just doing it.
Right.
It's actually retraining your body, your brain, your posture to be different so that you can actually, that you find joy out of doing it.
Right. Yeah. It's a long play. And you have to be comfortable with the long play, both in any, a personal situation or in business.
Yeah.
Is you need to be comfortable sacrificing instant gratification for long-term gains, long-term results. If you want quick results, i.e., speeding up the learning curve, that's fine. You just may need to adjust the discipline. Yeah. So if you want to get to some sort of weightlifting or exercise goal faster, then you may just need to work out 4 times a week instead of 3 times a week.
And it's going to hurt a lot more at first.
It's just, there's pros and cons. It's like, maybe you'll have to sacrifice more time, or I need to give up this on Friday so I can get to the gym because this goal is more important. Or if it's not as important and you don't want to give up that whatever on Friday, then maybe you need to be comfortable with hitting your results further down the road.
And I think if we bring it back into the conversation about a company or a team or even an individual working on their career, one of the things is making sure, again, that you name that you say, hey guys, we're going to make some changes. Likely it's going to be a little messy for a while. That's okay. We'll figure out how to work through it. Let's address things as they come. But strategically speaking, this principle is driving us, this vision, this mission is driving us this direction. In order to get there, we think we need to make some changes. Accept the messiness for a little while. I haven't read it yet. Who's the messy middle?
Oh yeah.
I think it's this really being in the mindset of like, you either see the failure or the success, but you don't oftentimes see the messy middle of getting through those. And I think most of our lives is living in the messy middle. Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, that looks great. How did you do that? It's like, you don't want to know.
Oh, it's Jake Knapp.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, if you really want to know, let's go out for beers. I'll tell you how
exactly.
It's not as glorious as you think.
That's right. And I think that's what we have to recognize with a really high performing team is that they have the grit, they have the resilience, the posture to say, I'm willing to exist in this messy middle to keep moving forward because I know that it's going to get better. Now, that doesn't mean you're always going to be on cloud 9 about it. So that goes back to postures, where I said my team had this posture of both being excited and anxious.
Right.
They were anxious. They weren't sure how they were going to figure it out. And they were right. It has been messy figuring out how we're going to do some of those initiatives. But now we're starting to get some disciplines. We're starting to see some results. But while we were working on it, they were good, but they were kind of annoyed.
Right.
That's the messy middle. And that's where a lot of people mostly are. So putting those rhythms back in place to say, okay, reality check, look at the progress we made. Reality check, here's where we are. Those are disciplines to kind of put meetings or activities or one-on-ones or whatever that is.
And maybe use the messy middle as an indicator that you're probably on the right path.
Interesting.
So if you get to the point to where you've started something and it starts to get really uncomfortable, and it gets really hard, lean in and sit for a while because you're probably on the right track. It kind of makes me wonder in my own personal life, whenever I stopped something because it got hard, it's like, should I have continued? Yeah. And so as a company or a team, maybe go back and reflect, what did we start that actually we had good intentions, was probably the right decision, but we quit.
Yeah.
Well, why did you quit? Well, it got hard. Maybe revisit that. And maybe on your next project, initiative, strategy, whatever, when it gets hard, it's like, be focused to sit in it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we're probably in the right spot. We're probably
it's
poised.
jog for me right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like jog at the point where it was like, so if you don't know, we've been working on this kind of internal app, an internal app that we're building for ourselves, which is basically a personal relationship manager, and fixes a problem I had, but we've been working on it for 2 years plus. And it got to the point where it was like, this is not clicking. This is not working. We're not getting the results that we want. And we could have said, well, that's a failed experiment. But then looking at opportunity to say, well, we got lots of feedback. What do we do with that feedback? How do we listen to that and actually lean into it a little bit more? Now let's make a change. Now there is a change that took place. The consistent discipline is we're going to keep working on it. The change happened when we said, you know what, we need to regroup, refocus the purpose or the outcome that we would give our customers, and let's get a team better aligned around how we're going to get there. And let's really set some milestones to hitting it. And we're in the middle of that right now. And honestly, it's a little messy because we're now having to rethink some stuff that we've always been saying it one way, and we keep accidentally saying it the other way, So it's a little messy right now, but it's really exciting about the potential. Again, it's just creating those new activities. So maybe disciplines, I think when we have to probably, as we work on the book or as we work on kind of this topic, disciplines can be interchanged a little bit with activity. Or what are the things that you're doing? Because I think even when you and I talked about it, it was like postures, disciplines, and structures could be like mindset or like the things that you're thinking, the things that you're doing, and disciplines are kind of the doing. Yeah.
What are the practices?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Principles, maybe. Is a principle a discipline?
Oh gosh.
Or is it a mindset?
You could probably say that a principle is all three.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, if a principle is more of like a value, you could say that's a structure because that's the environment I'm operating within.
Are these 3 pillars defining principles?
I don't know.
Okay, that's tangential. It's not what the point of this one is supposed to be at. I think I would love to hear about what other people have as their disciplines for their teams or for themselves individually. What are ways that you're putting in habits or routines to continue to learn your craft, becoming better at your craft? What are things that you're paying attention to on a regular basis? What are things that give you the headspace to do better work personally? And then take a step up to the next level. What are things that your team does that seems to give you guys life, that puts you in a better posture to get better results, that makes you more efficient, that actually tears down walls and creates better collaboration. I would love to know kind of what you're doing on that. Email us option 5 at crema.us. I'd love to get some feedback on what you're doing there.
And I think if you want to be more disciplined, look for those individuals around you that maybe have been defined as high capacity. I think if you find someone who either secondhand you've heard is, oh, they're a high capacity person. Or they are, chances are they have developed really good routines, or maybe a shorthand for disciplines, life hacks. What are the life hacks?
I like that.
What are the hacks? What are the routines, the processes, maybe micro processes in their own work that they've done that have just given them more capacity. And maybe the hope is that if you have come to the table with those postures we talked about, and you are intentional with setting those disciplines, it just leads to greater capacity to do your work better, take on more responsibility, have a greater impact, contribute more, bring higher value to team, organization, nonprofit, whatever your school, your team. Look for those ways that if you know that you're a humble person and you want to work hard and you're like, I got the posture down, I just really need to work on the discipline. Okay, look for those individuals that just seem like, how do you get that much done?
Yeah, because I think you can have a great you can have a great posture. To kind of to affirm what you're saying, you can have a great posture. We've had people come through Crema that had great attitudes. They were the best cheerleaders for Crema, but their disciplines were so poor that they weren't following through with actually executing on the work really well. And that made them not a good fit for Crema. And that style, they didn't like the autonomy that meant they had to create their own habits. They didn't, that the trust was in them that they would do that. They weren't leaning on their team. So maybe they were siloing themselves. So they weren't going, you know what, I'm not exactly sure what to do here. How do I lean into my peer or into my manager or into, the people around me so that I can better execute? Instead, they kind of said, no, I'll just kind of sit here quietly and hope that nobody notices I'm not doing anything. Still with a great attitude, but just not actually executing well.
Right.
They were missing their disciplines. They were missing the activity. Who was it? Tyler that was saying, maybe you brought this up in the last podcast. No, Tyler was saying something about the fact that in the absence of results. Oh, one of our peer agencies was talking about this. In the absence of results, I want to see activity. Right? Sometimes effort. I want to see effort.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to just work your tail off and it just doesn't get where you wanted to get.
Right.
You didn't hit the results, and that's okay. That's a fail. But you learn from the failure and you go, oh, what could we have done differently?
Right.
But if you turn around and you go, yeah, but you didn't have any disciplines. You didn't have any habits. You didn't have anything that was activity. You didn't have any effort involved there. Then of course you missed the result.
Right.
If you didn't hit a result and you did the effort, good try. If you didn't hit a result and you didn't do anything, yeah, maybe this isn't working out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you can address that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think we have lots to unpack on disciplines because I think we could even talk specifically about certain disciplines that our teams do. And maybe we'll jump into that in future episodes.
Love it.
I enjoy these. I think we're learning. I'm still learning.
I am a more disciplined person now.
You going to work out every day at 5?
No.
Okay.
Well, gosh, I don't know. It's early. It's getting
so early.
It gets earlier the older you get too.
If you have stuck to the end of this podcast and you are enjoying it on your podcast platform of choice, we would love a little review. A little 5 stars goes a long way to telling the world that we exist. And just give us feedback. Shoot us an email, option5@crema.us, or check out the show notes at crema.us/podcast. Also, if you want to, drop us a comment on our YouTube channel where you can see us live. And if you, it's cut off just a little bit, but if you want to, give us a little note about our background today. And tell us if you know how those guys got up into that tree.
I don't. They don't have thumbs.
I'm just saying, check out the YouTube channel.
I know. And if you have any life hacks that have made your work better, we'd love to hear about them. Yeah. We're nerds. We try to get better at work all the time.
All the time. We're life hack nerds. I love it. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, subscribe to this podcast. And if you could, copy and paste the link that you found this podcast on. I don't care how you do it. It could be on our website. It could be on iTunes. It could be in, I use Pocket Cast, Spotify.
Spotify's good.
Copy that link, put it into your social media, like Twitter, LinkedIn. Put a little note that says, this podcast rocks.
It changed
my life. I will never be the same.
There's never been better content.
Period.
Enter,
send, @reference all. I don't think you can do that. So I guess if you're doing it in Slack, you're doing at people, at channel, at everyone. Share it, I guess is what I'm saying. Be willing to share that. It goes a long way for us. And it really means a lot to us if you do that. So thank you.
Keep learning.
Keep on, keep it on.
Be disciplined.
Bootstraps.
Habits are good.
Bye, guys.
Hello, my name is Jake Lacombe. I'm an application developer here. I primarily write apps in a variety of different backgrounds. Most of my work is front-end React apps. I've also written back-end Rails API apps. And recently, I've been working on mobile apps in Flutter. I mostly work with variety of people here. I work with the designers on a daily basis. I work with other developers. I also work with project managers and even stakeholders with some of our clients to produce the products that we create. And what I enjoy about working at Crema is I feel like we're building products more than just producing code. Every project we've had, it's been a new problem that we have to tackle. It doesn't feel like something generic that we've made. And it's nice that it drives us to learn better and it drives us to really build the best products we can. And that's mostly the thing I enjoy the most about being here. Option 5 is a podcast by Crema, a digital product agency that creates web and mobile apps for disruptive companies and industry leaders. We believe that design, technology, and culture can help create a world where individuals and companies thrive. Learn more at crema.us.